chase success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Yay! What day is it? It's Thursday, right? Happy Thursday, everyone. We're here again. So the amazing Dr. Phil to come and share his wisdom with us. So I'm glad you're here. So if you're Dr. Phil's friends are here, look, tech does what tech does. It means I can't see you. I can't see anything at all. I saw many comments before we started, so I'm sure you're still here. I'm just going to turn up my YouTube now, and hopefully the comments will appear again, which they probably won't. At least it should be on LinkedIn, though. But if you're here, my friends, drop us a comment. Say hi. Say where you join us from. And share some of your thoughts. And I said, there's many people here. So there's Robin. I can see you, Robin. So Stanley, I see you. Stanley says, I look forward to attending. So Robin says, thank you for inviting me to attend this amazing event, Dr. Philip. But I'll be guesting on the podcast at that time on Thursday. We're sorry to miss this. But there's always a replay, Robin. There's always a replay for everyone. If you want to watch the replay, message me. I'd rather you watch the replay on my YouTube rather than wasting on LinkedIn where it doesn't count, right? So there's more people here, so do drop a comment, because otherwise I wouldn't know. I know you're here. I don't know who you are. And this phone starts ringing. Yes, all right. Give me a break. All right, I've got a show to do, so I can't talk to anyone. And so Christy, I see you as well. So Amy Powers, welcome. So I'm talking about Christy. I'm wondering the same. Has it started? Look, tech things happen to us. Dr. Phil got lost online. He got literally in the weeds, right? He got in the weeds. And they went to another room and waited there. The room that didn't happen. So yeah, things always happen in live events. So don't be so harsh on us. Like, be kind to us. You're here. We're here, right? That's important. And Alice is here. We make everything better. So let me stop talking. Let me tell you. So briefly, so there's many people here, and well, you haven't said anything. I'm saying, Mr. Calm, you made your way. Let me see who I can see in my stream yard now. All right. So Robin, I can see you. Robin is joining from Wales. I tell you, Robin, in the same place, right? Both in the UK. We must connect. So Stanley said I was on the show last night. I was thinking, and Stanley said, come in the studio. I'm like, yeah, go on then. Why not? It was like 3 in the morning, by the way, 2:30, our time. So, Alison, I'm sure you know how that feels, right? You're minding your own business, thinking, I'm just going to sit here quietly and enjoy the show. And someone says, come in the studio. Come and talk to us. But you're here, right? But you are the gut health expert, so Dr. Phil told me. So, we look forward to learning from you for sure. Mm-hmm. So I can see you, Mr. Calm. So Mr. Calm has lost his voice apparently today. So there is a God. Me and Calm are friends, right? And he's always talking at our events. So permit me to laugh at his behalf. Anyone when my wife loses her voice, I always laugh hysteric. That's peace and quiet in my ears, right? No, Mr. Calm not talking to me today. That's I leave it there. So welcome, Liana. Of course, I see you. Welcome. Glad you're here. So Sherry, superstar in Nairobi in Kenya. So Sherry was one of my assistants. So last year. So she's an amazing person. Does very hard work, and she runs a charity as well. So right. Alison, look, I love to know all my friends, and if I don't know you yet, please, let's connect. I want to know what you do. I want to know how you help. Nothing happens on LinkedIn unless you know people. And I tell all my friends, get to know people. Just meet them. If you care about them, they'll care about you. If you never meet them, you don't know who cares about who, right? And they'll never know what you do. You can't help them. So, generally go out there, make friends. That's what these events are for. Look, so apart from doing what I do, this event today, what have I done today? I've booked my tickets to Ghana, so I'm going to be a keynote speaker on the event. No human is useless. It's the conference in September, on the 19th. I bought my tickets, my visa application's done. I'm good to go. So that's one of the things I do is public speaking. Other things I do is events like this. If you want people to know about you, your solutions, your genius, how you help people, and you want to build a community of potential customers, then these events are the way to go. I see you, William. William does events as well. He does amazing events. Who are you interviewing next, William? I saw it. I'm getting old. My mind is suddenly gone blank. But I'll remember halfway through the show, William, and I'll tell them. So, William, Rochelle, want to connect with for sure. Okay. Send me a token in the song. I'm waiting to meet the guests. Are you going to join the studio and share, Michael? I wonder. Look, the other thing I do apart from these events is helping people to write their books, and publish their books, launch their books, market the books, and become Amazon international bestsellers. That's a guaranteed service. If you have a book, let's talk. You're going to make your book truly famous and get that badge for the rest of your life. Let's talk. Enough talking from me. Dr. Phil, you're the star of the show. Of course, Anderson, you're a bigger star than both of us, right?
Don't know about that.
I'll give you the mic first, right?
Hey. Oh gosh, thank you for having me. This is an absolute pleasure. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So I thank Allison also for joining me. So basically, we wanted to talk about anything, but particularly the letter G and gut health. But let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Phil, not the TV guy, but the one who heals the gut. And I wanted to say that I started out because I wanted to help people. And so I went to be a doctor. And so that's what I thought I wanted to do. And that was what was going on. And so I went to medical school. I ended up doing some extra training. I ended up getting a master's degree in biology, but then I went to medical school and I went to Mexico and I did my curriculum in Spanish. I ended up learning Spanish, which was a great thing. And then I traveled and completed my education in New Jersey. And I went through treatment or schooling with my residency and my fellowship, and I started my practice. And I was a pulmonary doctor, an internal medicine doctor, and I did this for over 20 years, and I treated thousands of patients, and some got better, some did not. And the bottom line is that my life was very hectic, and I was living on coffee and living on sugar to try to get through the day, and I wasn't able to stay awake for my clients. I wasn't prioritizing sleep, and I wasn't prioritizing time for the important things in life, which was my family. And so what happened was I ended up having some health challenges, and some of them were stigma. And I was diagnosed with bipolar depression. I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is, when your brain is not thinking clearly. And I was also diagnosed with irritable bowel and gut problems. I had issues with that, and I wasn't able to function, and I had to step back. And interestingly enough, I stepped back, and I was able to spend some time with my father and take care of him because he had some chronic issues. And I was able to kind of look at things, and I was wondering, how do other doctors function? How do people function in professionals' careers where they are, working all the time? They don't have time. They're literally no time for meals. They might be getting burned out. They must be suffering as well. What are they doing? And so I was also taking quite a few medications, and they were creating a lot of problems. I was tired. I was, very, very moody. I wasn't able to sleep, and the medications I was not tolerating. And so they told me I would have to be on medications for life. I remember certain medications for the ADHD, the Ritalin, worked great, but I was buzzing, and it was just very uncomfortable. So it wasn't until I was looking for other means, particularly holistic care, and I was exploring these things. It's something I'd always been interested in. I had always been doing things, taking vitamins and supplements, and trying to do the right thing, and trying to eat well, and trying to exercise, but I still wasn't getting better. And so it wasn't until actually I looked into functional medicine that I was actually able to get better, and I was able to heal myself. And the interesting thing is that after I was able to heal my gut, and I was able to get off all my medications, including the ones for depression and the ADHD. I worked on my gut, and that took some time. That took a matter of just finding out what my food tolerances were, what I was able to, and then I had to do some healing, because there were some healing issues that I needed to do in order to get better. And it took the right combination of different types of supplements and food preferences in order for me to get better. And then I was able to become a certified functional nutrition counselor and practitioner and coach. And that's what I do now. So now I help people, or I teach entrepreneurs and business owners how to improve their mood, their energy, their digestion, their mental focus. And I do it through improving the brain gut connection. The brain, because there are things that affect us, certainly negative thoughts, as well as toxins that affect our brain, and how it affects the gut. And then the gut with respect to the food that we eat, and how our body metabolizes the food, and how it affects the brain. And the communication between the two is important. And so I realized that now I'm able to help business owners and entrepreneurs to improve their health in these important things. And I realized that gut health is one of the important things to have to focus on. In addition, the metabolic health, blood sugar management, sleep, stress, all those things play a role, not only in the health of our gut, but just in general. And so we need to incorporate the right food, because food is medicine, just like Hippocrates had said way back in ancient times. And realize that the gut is very, very important. And I think more and more people are realizing, that gut health is really key, and that the food that we eat really plays a role in what goes on. So that's my story, and I'm sure there's a lot of different questions, and there's a lot of different ways that we can take care of our health. So I think that one of the most important things that we can do is realizing that our overall health is really, we have to work on doing things that reduce inflammation. And I think inflammation is something that our body needs, but when it gets to a point where it can create more problems, then we have to be more cautious. So I think that eating real food, and certainly avoiding processed foods and avoiding sugar, is a really, really good way to start. And, just eating whole foods, and really trying to do things like focusing on sleep, and trying to not go excessively on caffeine, and also just trying to do what we did back when some of our elders did, or back when, I'm not going back to caveman times, but certainly our ancestors, they kind of followed a rhythm. They would basically go to bed same time, they would wake up certain time, kind of like with the circadian rhythm of the sun. And we realize now how important the sun is as far as our overall health. But I don't want to get into a lot of different things because I think this conversation can go anywhere. So I think we can look to see if anybody had any specific questions. But I will say that, when we're talking about the health of the gut, I think that we have to see what other things are going on because, everybody's unique and everybody's different. And that's one of the things that I learned about being and doing functional medicine, because it's a personalized thing that, it's not cookie cutter. And one of the problems I had when I was practicing medicine was that I found that a lot of their treatment, a lot of protocols were driven by, the insurance companies or the pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies wanted to manage your drugs and they wanted you to prescribe. And the other thing is that the insurance companies were trying to minimize costs. So, if you had to get certain tests to be done, then, they were not really willing to spend the money. So it's all about, doing what's right, not for the patient, but for them. And so I'm happy that I've made that transition to functional medicine. And I had given a lecture about through the Trusted Business Community Association, which Allison is a part of. And I really am thrilled that she's here with me today. And I realized that, that a lot of people choose either pills or going toward purpose. And, the purpose is to basically find out what's going on with your health and to really dig deeper. And I think we all have a responsibility to take care of our own needs and just because your doctor says that you're fine, it doesn't mean that you're well. And so there's a difference between wellness and being fine, because I think that we need to start taking care of our health now and not to wait until something happens. And I think a lot of people do that. They're pretty much proactive. And I also found out when people were coming into my office, like they just wanted a quick fix. They wanted a pill. They wanted to know what was wrong with them. Give me a diagnosis, give me a pill, and I'm out the door. And I'm going to go ahead and just do what I'm going to do. And, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to eat my pizza, and then I'm going to drink my beer. And I'm not saying that's bad, because I'm not anybody to judge these things. But I think that, we need to look and see just what the effect of some of these things are over time in our body. And our body is an amazing, amazing machine. I mean, it can handle many, many things. But unfortunately, there comes a point in time where the body is going to, not be able to tolerate this anymore. It's kind of like the tipping point or the bucket effect. So when you kind of fill the bucket, and then the bucket kind of spills over and everything comes out. And it's not the last thing you had to eat. It's everything else that's accumulated to this point. So because of all the toxins in the environment and the air and the water and all the things in the food, a little better in Europe, perhaps, but here, I mean, with all the pesticides and herbicides and all the things that they're spraying in the air, and then heavy metals in our foods. So these things build up over time, and then they cause a problem. And so my first thing is that we need to kind of take a step back, and we need to look at things. And so we need to see, what's going on, how badly our body is infected and inflamed, and then kind of say, okay, where do we start? And so I think that's an important thing for people, and it really depends on, where we're at. And one of the things I help people is I meet people where they are. We form a therapeutic partnership with people, so we're able to move forward. And every single thing that I do, or every approach, or every patient is totally different. There's a unique, individualized thing that we do. But predominantly, we look at the basic things. We look at food. We look at, stress management. We look at sleep and hydration. So just some of the simple things. But I think that, looking at the food first is something that we look at. And so I start with that. And we want to look at some of the basic things. We're looking at, how do people eliminate? How do they sleep? And how do we manage our blood sugar? Because I find that, glucose starts with the letter G. Glucose management is really important. And I think that we've seen a lot of more increase in chronic illnesses, and particularly heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. We've seen an increase in these things over time, and I think a lot of it has to do with the food, and it has to do with our overall management of our blood sugar. We've seen a rising epidemic in obesity, and I feel that a lot of this is to do with the food and how our body processes it. And so ideally, when your body is getting the right food and nutrition, and we're doing all the right things, then your body will have the ability to heal itself. And so that's kind of what I love about what I do, is that we're able to kind of step back, we're able to focus on the right foods, and we're able to essentially let the body heal. And so certainly, everybody's heard of, different diets, whether it be, paleo or Mediterranean or keto or, what's the best diet? And the idea is that it depends. And so it really depends on people. I think that the most important thing I try to tell people is to eat just an anti-inflammatory diet, try to minimize processed foods and minimize sugar, because sugar can be very, very toxic. And that's I think a first step that we can do that. And then the other thing is that a lot of people are taking supplementation, and I don't have any problem against supplementation. I guess we need to talk about supplements because we don't get all the nutrition that we did from our food that we used to, and so sometimes we may need targeted supplementation. But if you're taking 30 or 40 pills and you're still not feeling good, there's a reason. And so what's the reason for your gut problem? Is it because things are moving either too slowly, or things are moving too fast, or maybe you're not absorbing things? Maybe there's some sort of deficiency. Or maybe you're taking certain medications that are affecting your ability to absorb things. Or maybe there's some sort of a competition between your medications and what you're eating, or what you're supplementing. So unfortunately, when some people are taking medications and they have a lot of side effects, and so I think that our body can only digest so much. And we have to look at, when we process foods, what's going on with our stomach? Do we have enough acid in the stomach? Or our bacteria, certainly the bacteria in our gut is very important. Everybody talks about the microbiome. And so the microbiome is something that is very important. A lot of people have been speaking about it, good bacteria, bad bacteria. And the funny thing is that there's so many different kinds of bacteria that are there, and everybody has their own unique. There's no person that has the same microbiome. I think that what people want to do is they want to just take a pill, and they want to say, oh, why don't we just, this pill is going to help me and I'm going to get all better. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. And there's so many different things. So I think if we look at, certainly acid production, I think a lot of people have issues with acid production. I think that enzymes are important because I think that some people have issues digesting foods. And then, maybe we don't have the right nutrients. So, or maybe we're deficient in minerals or electrolytes. And I think these things also affect our gut absorption. So I believe that those things are things to look at. And then we have to look at, are things moving through the colon and into and out? And I think that, some people, things move through a lot more quicker. But I think we need to understand, like, some people have problems with, gas or bloating, and, they're not tolerating things. And it may be due to any number of reasons, whether it's due to low acid or whether it's due to, nutrients, or whether things are, just not tolerating things. And one of the main reasons why a lot of people have a lot of gas and bloating is probably because the bacteria composition in the gut is not what it should be. So certain types of foods like processed sugar and processed foods, they can affect our bacteria. And it's kind of like you have the brain, you have the gut, and you have the microbes. And we're actually more microbes. We have more microbes in our body than we do cells. So we have to think about our microbes. And the interesting thing is they can change all the time. So you can change your microbes in a few days. And, if you exercise right, or if you sleep well, or if your stress is okay, then you can have, your microbes can get better. But the interesting thing is that when you're stressed, it's kind of like your microbes feel it. It's almost like there's another person in there, but obviously there's not. But all these microbes are very sensitive to changes in your mood, and their stress or anything like that. So just and the thing is that when we talk about SIBO, which is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we talk about bacteria in the wrong places, because the bacteria mostly should be in the colon, and sometimes they migrate up into the small intestine. And what happens is that when you eat your food and it gets into the small intestine, and then the small intestine eats or works on the food first, and it creates gas because they're not supposed to be there. The bacteria are not supposed to be there. So I call them misplaced bacteria. It's almost like they need a roadmap to get back to where they're supposed to go. But there may be reasons why. And one of the reasons that maybe there's something that goes on in your gut when you sleep. It's called the migrating motor complex. And, whenever you have your stomach growling, it's not because you're hungry. It's because well, it could be, but, it may be a reflection of the fact that when you're not eating, there's another thing going on in your stomach, which is kind of moving things through. And it actually, what the migrating motor complex does, predominantly when you're asleep, is that it is something that is creating or clearing things or sweeping things out. Imagine, sweeping crumbs from a table. It's sweeping things out into your colon. So, that's another thing we need to look at. And then, maybe there may be some type of an overgrowth. Maybe there are, different types of, parasites, or there might be fungal infections. And so really it depends on, what the type of growth is going on in your system. And, we may need to do some testing to figure out what that's all about. So with SIBO, I mean, there's a certain breath test that we do, and we look at certain types of gases. And based on the type of gas that these bacteria produce, we can direct our therapy toward whatever type of gas is there. Or if we find out that, through other types of testing, that there may be an overgrowth of fungus, then we may need to direct our therapy to that as well. So therapy is individualized, and, so that's that's dealing with the gut health as far as that's concerned. And there's so many more aspects of gut health that I could go into. But, I think that the communication between the brain and the gut is through the vagus nerve. And I think that most of it is coming from the stomach going up to the brain. And there is some that's coming back from the brain to the gut. And so anything that hits our stomach, the bacteria are reacting, and they send signals back to the brain. So there's a constant communication between the brain and the gut. So that's why I tell people, when you're eating, you need to slow down, and you need to digest your food and chew your food. And you also want to not be angry or upset, And the reason being is because you digest your food better when you're calm and you're not stressed. And so a story is, if you go out to dinner with your spouse and you have a nice meal, you have a steak dinner, may or may not have some wine. You go home, everything is great, you sleep well, and the next day you say, gee, I had a great time. Now, let's say you go out for, let's say, a steak dinner or some other type of dinner, and you have an argument in the middle of dinner. Well, obviously things are not going to sit well. Your food is going to sit there. It's not going to move. You're not going to be able to sleep. You wake up the next day, gee, it was a horrible day. And you turn a really, really nice time to something that is not great. So many, many things affect the way we digest our food. So I'm going to stop talking for now. I'm going to let Annie or Allison kind of take the show over for a while and see where things come up for people. So, anybody here?
I'm here. I hide away quietly. This is your conversation, right? You are the genius here. Now, there's a few people in the studio, so I'm intrigued to hear what they say. You're scaring me, by the way, with your gut health talk. But I'll leave that alone. I'll ignore that bit for now, right? Look, so I guess for transparency, my friends, Dr. Phil is writing a book, the A to Z of health.
Okay.
And G is the letter we're on today. So don't let him get us stuck on gut health alone. There's other G conditions. Every health condition today starts with G, Dr. Phil. Sleep.
Okay.
There's a G there somewhere, I'm sure. There's many other things I could talk about, right?
Yeah.
Well, my friends, now think about G health topics or issues you want to talk about that starts with a G.
Mm-hmm. Allison, do you have anything that you wanted to add about what I was talking about? I kind of went all over the place, but I'm wondering if there's something that you wanted to add or some way that you look at gut health or you look at people in general. What are your thoughts about that?
I was smiling and nodding a lot. I don't know if you could see me. But I mean,
I was kind of like in a room by myself. I was isolated. I was nobody else was here.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically saying everything that kind of I'm kind of thinking as well. I think I use a few analogies which can help people understand a bit about the gut and why it has such an impact on our lives. And
hold on a second, Alison, one second. If you tell my friends what you do. Tell my friends how you can help.
Sorry, yeah. My name's Alison Dawkson. I'm a nutritional therapist and I specialise in gut health. A couple of reasons for that. I've had my own journey with, I think a lot of people that work in this industry, that I've had my own journey with health, IBS and the like. But back in the day, before children, I used to head up an IT department. So I was a head of IT for a property development firm. So very, very different background to what I do now. And I think I would class myself as the original cynic. And possibly if I met myself then now, I'd be quite cynical about what I do now and class it as woo-woo. But, fast forward, the reason that I like what I do so much is because it's scientifically based. It's clinical. I love geeking out on papers, reading research, and it just speaks to that old IT part of my brain, especially when we dive into the gut stuff and the bacteria. But yeah, so that's what I do, and I help people on a one-to-one basis. And people don't need to come to me with gut issues per se, but that's where I always start, because as Phil said, that's where you have to start, really, because we are what we eat. We have to fuel ourselves, and it's what we fuel ourselves with that has the impact on our health. And people, as Phil said, we have to start taking responsibility proactively about our health rather than reactively. Having a pill or a plaster isn't getting to the root cause, and the root cause is what we put in our mouths. And we have to start taking responsibility for that. It's not easy with the amount of processed food and everything that's around us, but we can do it. It is possible, and it has a massive impact. And the analogy that I use is that you wouldn't, I don't know how this is going to translate to the overseas, but in the UK, we have petrol and we have diesel cars. You wouldn't rock up to a fuel station and fill your diesel car with petrol and expect it to go. So why do we expect us to go when we're putting the wrong fuel in?
For sure. Thank you. That was awesome. So what is your approach to, I mean, what's your general approach to people who have gut health? I mean, without going into a lot of different things, what do you do when you have somebody who's having gut issues?
Well, it really does depend on the issues they have. I do start with food diaries, symptom diaries, and then I go down the microbiome, microbial testing, and blood tests if we need it. If I feel that there's a thyroid possible issue, which a lot of perimenopause ladies quite often come in with subclinical thyroid problems that have been missed because they think it's perimenopause, and the two kind of are very similar, as you know. So I generally try to test first while I get a food diary from them. A lot of the time the food diary will show the problems they're having, and usually by the time I get the test results back and their food diary back, I can marry the two up and see where we can change. The test that I use gives us a personalized, I don't like the term diet, but it is a personalized list of foods to help correct the imbalances that it picks up in the test of the bacteria that's in our stomach. So I always start with food first, because you have to have a good foundation. There's no point in going to spend loads of money on supplements if you're down at McDonald's eating that all day, every day. It's not going to work. And, as you know, supplements, they're not all quick. They're not all equal either. Getting the right supplements at the right dosage is quite critical as well. So getting, following What's His Chops on Instagram and following them because they said that this supplement is great for them. You've got to think about, well, they're being paid for that, and do they have any qualifications to justify that? Because as you well know, a lot of the supplements don't have the therapeutic dose to do anything, and B, they're full of other stuff that we shouldn't be having.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was awesome, really. So we have some people in the audience who may have questions, right, Amy?
Yeah, we certainly do. I love the What's His Chops, Alison. You're a British person. Like the Americans are like, what did you just say? I'm like, yeah, that's how you say it, right? I like it. Okay, so let me welcome people, and then we'll come to our friends in the studio. Have we lost someone? It seems like we lost someone. We lost Cyrus. Okay, he may come back. You never know, right? And then Amy Powers, I mentioned you earlier. If you want to join the studio, Amy, because Dr. Phil did mention you, so if you want to join the studio, you're welcome to join us, right? And the link is on the comments page. So if anyone wants to join, to ask a question, to make a comment, to share something about G related, so health issues that start with G, then don't be shy, right? Make sure it starts with G. You can be creative. I say that everything starts with G today, right? So you can put a G in front of every word you can think of. But we'll take it. We'll take it. Dr. Lisa, our menopause expert. Glad you're here, Dr. Lisa. Thank you for joining us. Calm is in the studio, so that's all right. Calm wants to talk about bunker busting. So I dread to think. I dread to think what he's going to talk about. If you think it, he will go there. He wants. All right. We'll get to hear what he has to say. But he says it's interesting what you have to say, Dr. Phil, because of your pulmonary experience and experience as a herbalist now.
So the interesting thing is that a lot of people came in because they couldn't breathe, and thank you, Robin, for joining us. So it was interesting because a lot of people couldn't breathe, and so I would deal with a lot of people who had asthma, chronic lung disease. Maybe they had an issue with cancer. But I also found a interesting thing where, being a specialist, I had cardiologists. One of the things about traditional medicine is that you have a system approach. So in other words, you go to a lung doctor if you can't breathe. You go to a heart doctor if you have a problem with your heart, and you go to a gut gut doctor if you have a problem with your gut. You go to a head doctor if you have maybe a psychiatrist, or you see somebody if you have a headache. You may go to a neurologist. So, and didn't realize the connection between all of them. And so, and sometimes, the heart doctor would say, well, this person has a heart problem, but I think it's his lungs. And then I would say, no, it's really not his lungs. It's really his heart. But, now I realize that, the gut is where people need to go. And the other thing is that when I was also practicing, I would have people who came in who couldn't breathe. And I realized that some of it may have been stress related, anxiety related, and they were having breathing problems because it was, they were having, problems with stress management. And so, I think that I had a narrow view of what was going on with people. I really didn't have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with people to really delve into what was going on with their life. I mean, yeah, we dabbled a little bit, but that was my general experience treating people with respiratory issues. And I like to spend time with them because they all had, they needed the attention. And the other thing I noticed is that I was writing a lot of prescriptions. And, sometimes it would take me 10 minutes to just write all the prescriptions out. And I noticed that the number of specialists that people were seeing, the more medications they had. And it just, I would see people who had a list of medications, at 20 medications. How the heck could they take them all, And, it seemed like they were basically taking pills all day long. And like, how does anybody function that way? So now, I mean, certainly I'm trying to get people off prescriptions. I mean, I say one less prescription at a time. I certainly will work with a doctor to, see what's going on. But as people heal and as people are doing the right things, then they're able to drop off prescriptions, taper some if necessary. And they generally feel better when they're eating the right foods. And they're managing their blood sugar, or they are, and they'll lose weight. So right now, I use certain herbs in my practice because I think herbs and essential oils and all those things can be helpful. But again, I'm not somebody that's gonna see somebody say here's 20 supplements, see you in a month. I mean, that's not how I operate. So I don't know if that answered your question, but see if anybody else has any questions.
I'm sure it's got many more questions. I mean, Michael. There's no amount of help that you can get from our friends today, right? Christy says, she has courses on basic health issues. So, Michael, you want to talk to her, especially if your broncho busting is a problem, right? And she says, no, one course is free. And I thought she said the last one with a free stool, but she means a free tool. So I'll leave that alone, right? Anyway, that's me having a laugh behind the screen. But where am I going? Am I going to Michael first? I think you jumped first, Michael, right? I think you did. Michael, what's your question? What's your
pick up any other guests?
Are you sure?
Any other guests? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right, Sam. I'm sure you're going to agree. Let's go with ladies first, right? It's a polite thing to do. So, Amy, we'll come to you first. Feel free. The mic is yours.
So when you're talking about absorption and maybe the quality of foods, what do you think happened over the last 150 years that, we didn't have supplements back then. So what happened maybe to our soil, or why is our food just not, if we were just to eat food that comes out of the ground and not anything that's processed, it still doesn't have what we need because of the lack of nutrients in the soil. Are there ways to combat that without, only supplements? Like what happened to our food supply that makes it, even if we eat clean, we can't get what we need? Because, just like we don't need probably stuff to get toxins out of our body, because our body is supposed to take care of those on their own, right?
Right.
But because there's so much in the water, in the soil now that wasn't there 100 years ago, now we have to do extra things to rid our body of things that our body can't get rid of on their own. So I don't know if
Right.
anybody knows what, what our world did to things to make it so that we uh, can't eat our food and get what we need from it.
Right. And that's a, great point. Great question. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, over the years, that they're not really rotating their crops. So we're not really, fixating the soil with nitrogen. We're adding, herbicides and pesticides, which get into the soil and get into the water. And, and so really the quality of the food now, as opposed to back then, is much different because, and when you do organic foods tend to have a higher concentration of nutrients. And that's why, I prefer people to go organic if they can, because generally the nutrient is a little higher. And obviously fresh as opposed to frozen, but you can still get pretty good nutrition from frozen type foods also, if that's what you can do. But and then all the toxins in the environment, the heavy metals and things like that, and the pollution and all the other things. And then on top of that, we have things that create inflammation in our body. And the main thing is that you can actually look at, when you, the first thing that happens as soon as the food goes into the system, it goes right to the liver. So I think the health of the liver is important too, in terms of, getting rid of things. And sometimes the liver can be sluggish because of all the things that are happening. I think that, we are finding that there's more and more people who have liver dysfunction, and it's become one of the major issues in terms of our overall health, is that the liver is not functioning as well as it should. And that's because of a cumulative effect of everything going on. But our body does a pretty good job. But the idea is that, to answer your question, I think that, just the quality of food is different because of the way that people are farming. They're using a lot of big fields. They're not rotating their crops. And I think that right now there's a big movement toward what we call regenerative farming. And so there's a lot of interest in doing regenerative farming to kind of put the nutrition or put the nutrients back in the soil. I'm not sure if there's some political issues involving that, but there's a lot of movement and in a lot of different populations toward regenerative farming. Hope that answers your question.
Well, I know from like biblical times, and and the Bible's full of agricultural references, and knowing that they actually had, like, I think, was it the seventh year the land would rest or something, and
Mm-hmm.
so that allowed the land to regenerate itself, I guess. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just a principle that they did. So yeah, I think that's just go back to that, and
Sure.
our soil may just heal itself. And then we haven't really talked about, what we put in our mouths, but also what we put on our skin. And I'm super sensitive to anything I put on my
Right.
skin, but a lot of people are spraying perfumes on themselves and putting all sorts of lotions and stuff on them. And so I think that
Right.
that's making our bodies pretty toxic too, not just our skin. Our skin absorbs so much.
Right. And I think that you bring up a good point, because actually the lining of the gut, the inside of the lining is like the outside of your skin. So whatever you're putting in your gut is going to affect your skin. And we talk about the skins, which is the lining in the lungs, and the intestinal lining. And if you flip that inside out, that's what your skin could look at. So basically anything that you eat can affect your skin. So yeah, you may be having reactions, rashes, itching, different types of skin issues because of what you're eating. And so that's why when we take care of the gut health, we are looking at ways, and you'll see that your skin will get better. So yeah, that's very true. That the skin is very sensitive. The skin is one of our largest organs, and whatever we put on top of our skin is going to affect the rest. You know, it's going to be absorbed. It's scary what people do.
I like that. Your skin is, your gut is the inside of your skin. I tell you. It's a way of thinking, right? Alison, if you want to jump in, please just do, right? If you don't say otherwise, I will come to you because you are an expert in the topic, so you feel free. Unless someone takes us off gut health to other G issues, I'm giving you a hint, right? So Alison, please feel free. If you want to comment on Amy's question.
It's interesting actually that you say that, because that's one of the visuals that I use if I do talk in front of people. I've done it at my local business group. I don't know what the actual figures are today or this year, but there is a statistic that says if you take a plate of salad from the 1970s and you put the same items on that plate, how many plates would you need to match the nutritional value back in the 70s? And I do this with one tomato. So I get a tomato and I show is that's equivalent of a plate of salad. How many of those would you need now to get the nutritional value of that today? And this was about 8 years ago. I think I came across this statistic, and the answer is 48.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, it just goes to show we're kind of screwing everything up.
Another Britishism, right?
Try not to be too dramatic, but people are starting to realise this now, and as we said, the rotating crops and all that sort of stuff. And I think I don't know if you're aware of this chap in the States, but there's a guy that you either love or hate over here called Jeremy Clarkson, who's quite famous, and he's brought the farming into the light about this sort of thing that needs to be happening. But it's money, isn't it? People want money.
Is that the car guy?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Okay, he's funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I try and ignore Clarkson, but obviously he's doing something that he's trying to do something that might make life a better place to live, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of him, but I kind of admire what he's doing for the farming industry.
Yes. So thank you so much. I mean, that is staggering. 47 plays to 1. That's something's gone wrong somewhere. I agree, but now what has gone so wrong? And I know it's a mixture of what you and Dr. Phil said and what Alison, what Amy said as well. I'm saying, what is it really? What's the one thing? Is it our gut that can't absorb the food the same way? I'm wondering out loud. That's a staggering figure.
We just, for want of a better expression, my personal is we've just raped the natural earth of all its nutrients, and if we're not putting it back, it's we're not going to get it out.
Fertilizer. We've got fertilizer. We've got stuff.
Yeah, but the fertilizer, it's not natural, is it? A lot of it they're using is it doesn't do the job, and it takes time, and people don't want to put the time in, do they?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly giving our plants different type of nutrients, and I can relate a personal story because we have a micro farm, and we have lots of different vegetables and things like that, and there were certain things that we're not producing, and by just using bone meal and some natural products, I mean, everything started to flower, and now there's so many vegetables. I mean, we don't know what to do with them all. It's like, so I mean, I guess that certain what they're doing with agriculture, I really don't know what they're doing with the general population, but they may be harvesting them too soon, or they may be because obviously if they're harvested at the right time, they have the right nutrients. But I think that timing is important. Growth seasons, I mean, all these things play a role. So that's why I advocate, going to your local farmers market and looking at, getting fresh foods, and as opposed to the grocery store. Not that I'm adverse to it, but that's why, and I tell people shop around the perimeter of the store, which is where all the, fresh stuff is. And then in the middle aisles are all the processed foods. but you find a lot of people spending a lot of time in the middle and not enough around the edges. But that's just an aside.
I think also a lot has to be said for seasonal eating as well. We don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. Seasonal eating is also very key. Very good point, Allison. Yeah.
Living in Arizona, it's like there's no agriculture there except citrus. Farmers markets were horrible. Living in Northern California and going to farmers market 3 days a week, and then moving to Arizona with nothing. It was just really hard. I miss the daily, like 3 days a week farmers markets.
Yeah. California is definitely, especially near Berkeley and where you were, is really a good place for that kind of stuff. So, does anybody?
I want to get to some more people in the comments.
Okay.
So Stanley's question.
Sure.
So Christy, I say welcome, of course, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And so Stanley asks, so no more cologne?
Okay. Yeah, he's gonna do something.
I mean, that starts with G, right? In my eyes.
Well, there's things you can use besides cologne. I mean, there's essential oils which are natural, and they don't. And you can have something like that, or I think that we're talking about the skin, but I mean certainly the things that we put on our skin. So we need to look at the ingredients, just like when we look at ingredients for food. I mean, food, real food has, one syllable or one ingredient. And when you look at the packaged food and you see there's, 30 or 40 ingredients, that's highly processed. So as far as, different things we put in our body, I think we need to look at ingredients and try to, basically boil it down to the least toxic things available so that when our skin absorbs it, it's healthy. And so I think instead of cologne, I think we can use essential oils or types of things that don't have a lot of artificial ingredients and colors, things like that. Yeah.
So Stanley, there's hope. There's hope. I'm not going to stink at the place forever, right? So I'm heartened. Now Tracy says, why not? So Stanley, why not? We're dying anyway. A little cologne wouldn't hurt. More water after the cologne thing, right? So that's Tracy's answer. Would that work?
Probably not. I mean, that's why people say that.
Sorry, Tracy. Bad news for you, my friend.
Who don't sleep. I mean, they say, well, I'll sleep when I die, or, so, and they don't realize how important sleep is and how much better they would be if they were focusing on sleep. And so, I guess everything in moderation, as they say. So, maybe a little won't hurt, but obviously, maybe you'll reach the tipping point that much sooner than somebody else, right?
See, now you tell me, my son is addicted to ouds. So he has hundreds of colognes. I have a brother-in-law that has a room full of stuff. I'm literally water. He thinks it sells them, but it doesn't actually sell them. He says when they go out of production, he'll recreate them and sell them. I'm like, he's got walls of this stuff. Literally every space is taken up by this colognes, aftershaves, and just with, say ouds, men's scent is what they are really. So, I'll tell my son the good news. It's not really good for his health, right? He won't change his mind, by the way. He's 16, and that's his passion in life, I guess. Now, Tracy says celeries have changed, they've transformed. They're still long green stick things, aren't they? But they've changed. I mean, Alison, you're gonna realize that I'm genuinely stupid half the time. I make myself laugh, right? That's what I'm here for. I don't want to make me laugh.
Okay.
I'm all right. Have celeries changed that much? Clearly they have, right?
Well,
I don't know what they what are celeries? I'm not familiar
celery.
with
It's a vegetable, isn't it? It's
that's what they were talking about. Okay.
Yeah, a long green stick thing.
Okay. Yes. Certainly. Yeah. They're different. I mean, it's better if you do organic and certain types of celery. If we're talking about the food celery. And one of the things I have people look at is, there's something called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, which is put out by the Environmental Work Group. And so they have a list every year where they look at the most foods that are more heavily affected by pesticides. And so it's something to look at, the Dirty Dozen or the Queen 15. And some of the things on the Dirty Dozen list you'd be surprised at, such as, tomatoes and things like peaches, or things like green beans or peppers and things like that. And, even fruit like blueberries and blackberries, those are highly sprayed. And other things that are not affected, such as pineapples, or things like cantaloupe or avocado, and it's not something that necessarily has. And apples are also very, very highly on the Dirty Dozen. They're highly sprayed as well. So we need to look at that, and certainly try to get as clean as possible with the foods that are on that Dirty Dozen list. But
hold on. What's wrong with pineapple?
Pineapple's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, thank goodness. I've got this pineapple.
No, you're okay with pineapples.
I believe in pineapples. I really do. My first company's logo, my company's logo was a pineapple. And so I was telling Sam the story yesterday. I'm saying, but so I can't have you saying pineapples are bad for you. I'm like, you ruined my dream.
Well, yeah, okay. So let's bring up the blood sugar issue, because glucose begins with the letter G, and certainly that pineapples are great, but you have to. Okay, again, it depends. If you're somebody who already has diabetes and you're having issues with your blood sugar balance, then you need to minimize those foods. So because they're very high on, there's something called the glycemic index, and there's the glycemic load and the glycemic index. So the glycemic index is how much sugar content is in a particular food, and versus the glycemic load, which actually the impact is going to be buffered because there's fiber. So if there's fiber along with the particular substance, then it won't have an impact on our sugar. And so I think what people don't realize is that when we're trying to manage our sugar, our glucose, we need to try to keep a balance, and try to keep it balanced throughout the day. And that would mean, the timing of meals, what we eat at certain times, and that can affect our blood sugar, and it can also affect our energy levels. And so, I always talk about, combining certain things. I think the order that we eat things is important. That if we're going to eat, I always talk about a combination of fat, fiber, and protein. And that we should, there's a woman named Inessa, I forget her last name, but she's known as the glucose goddess. And so she talks about ways that we can manage our sugar by the order of the food that we eat. It's a very interesting read. And we talk about eating the protein and the fats first, and the carbohydrate or the sugar last. So that if we're going to have, let's say, a piece of toast, we should eat some protein first, and then follow it with the carbohydrate, because not only it'll help us with our digestion, but it will also help with managing our blood sugar. So that, the thing is that when we talk about pineapples are very high in the glycemic index. So somebody who may have a problem with their blood sugar should only eat it maybe once a week. And so there are certain foods like grapes, which are great, but they should also be limited to once a week. And then people who have, when we talk about eating fruits and vegetables, we should, depending on their blood sugar, they may need to limit their fruits and vegetables, or fruits anyway, not vegetables, but fruits. And so there really depends on what the condition is. Do they have a problem with, a blood sugar balance, or do they have a problem where the sugar is off? And you'll see a lot of people that maybe they're going to eat, and that, let me just step back a little bit. Let's say that, you're eating some kind of a sugary food. Well, that gets processed immediately. And that's why you feel really tired after your after you eat sugar, because what happens is that when you eat something that is quickly processed, your blood sugar spikes. And then what happens is your body releases insulin, and the insulin is to bring down the blood sugar. So what happens is that the insulin will tend to overshoot because there's so much sugar around. We have to somehow, get the sugar into the cells. And so your body releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin then brings down the blood sugar to normal, and sometimes it overshoots, and then you go from really, really high, feeling great, and then you go to a really, really low point. And so that's why I try to have people, if they can tolerate it, to have fiber and to kind of balance our sugar out a little bit, and also timing throughout the day. Now the problem is that, let's say that you tend to eat a lot of sugar, or you tend to eat a lot more processed foods. What happens is that your insulin tends to be secreted, and eventually it's not that you don't have enough insulin. I think we all have enough insulin, but the problem is that the thing, it doesn't work anymore, because your cells are so full of sugar, and you're getting rid of the sugar via your kidneys into the urine, that our body becomes overwhelmed. And that's what we call insulin resistance. And so when we get insulin resistance, the sugar and all the other things have to be stored somewhere. So we get stored in the fat. So that's why people tend to gain weight, particularly around the middle, is because the insulin is still there. It's overproducing, but the body says, well, I have to produce more and more insulin in order for this blood sugar to get under control. And as a result, the insulin doesn't work anymore. And that also has an effect on the liver, because the liver is now being stored with fat, and the liver doesn't work. And then you develop what's called insulin resistance, and you may or may not be overweight as a result of the fact that what we have insulin resistance. So that's become a major problem. And so I think that, again, just talking about the order of foods, eating real food, just getting back to, working on the gut, and, making sure that our body can process what we have. But I think blood sugar balance is a major problem. And a lot of it has to do with our overall metabolic health. And we see people who are having problems, when your doctor looks at your blood work, and they see your blood sugar, and your blood sugar is 95 or 99. And these are some of the idiosyncrasies that I've noticed, that the blood sugar range on your lab test is anywhere between 70 and 100. That's a big range, and it's based on the general population at large. So it could be anybody and everybody, and that's why they ask you what your origin or what your ethnicity is, because they have a different range for people who are Hispanic than they do for people who are non-Hispanic. So that's kind of interesting. And the other thing is that when your doctor says everything is normal, just because a lab says your tests are normal, you have a blood sugar of 95, and they say that's normal. But really, when you hit 100, you're classified as pre-diabetic. And when you hit 120, then you're considered diabetic. So why is it that when somebody has a blood sugar of 95, they're not saying, hey, we don't want you to become diabetic, this is what you should do now? So optimally, we want a blood sugar in the range of 75 to 84. And that's what we call optimal. So when we're working, we always want to be optimal. We don't want to necessarily be in range, quote unquote. And just because, your labs are normal, if you still feel like crap, then there's something else going on. And we need to dig deeper and find out what the root is. So, and the other thing that's crazy is that when you have diabetes, we give people insulin. So why are we giving more insulin when the body has enough insulin? This is particular people who are type 2 diabetes, who have a problem where they tend to gain weight. So why are we giving people insulin? Because it's not that their body doesn't have enough insulin, it's that the insulin doesn't work. So we're giving more insulin, and that's only creating more of a problem. And that's why people are on insulin all the time. And that's how the pharmaceutical industry works, I guess. Not to knock the pharmaceutical industry, but I mean, that's unfortunate that people are still doing that. Anyway, I said enough.
It's not working. You know what? The reason I took you off screen, you ruined my dream. You ruined everything I believe, everything I do. I think when it comes to food, look, maybe it's a culture. It's a culture. It's not maybe. Nigerians love to save the good bits till last. I'm Nigerian, right? So we're saving meat till last, deliberately, intentionally. You just ruined that dream for me. I'm not gonna enjoy food again. I'll get over it, Dr. Phil. I'll get over it. Now, I know you want to say something, Alison. Go on, I'll let you say it. Then I want to go to Sam. Sam might give you something interesting more than the topic to talk about. But feel free, Alison, because you're muted first, so the mic is yours.
Well, I don't really know how to follow that, to be honest. I think you kind of got it in one. Phil, it's just we're just putting plasters on it. We're not going to the root cause. And if people that do turn up sort of pre-diabetics or earlier warning signs, they don't need to be there. You can look at what you eat. And unfortunately, I don't know about in States, but unfortunately in the UK, I mean, we're very lucky to have the NHS. And, if you do fall and if your leg's hanging off, they are brilliant. But when it comes to preventative hair care, the doctors are pushed for time. They don't have the budget. And if we just had a bit of time to look at what we're eating, they could look at preventative. But then, you've got the whole kind of pharmaceutical side of it, which I won't get into because it's a bit political, but it feels like they just want to keep us sick, and that's why we need to take control ourselves and preventative health is better than cure.
Yeah, I always find it fascinating that people on medication die of the same condition they're medication for. Strange that. Let me do it. Let's have to welcome Superwoman, who's joined us. Margaret is my co-author of my book. Yeah, it's the one you see behind me. It is there. So you said, don't be shy, my friends. Scan that QR code with your phone and buy the book, right? Get to read Margaret's story of how we survived COVID. Not just her, there's 10 authors in the book. Someone bought the book yesterday and I was so happy. It cheers me up every time. So don't be shy. If you haven't read the book yet, go and buy it. I'll say that for sure. So Tracy says, I can name at least a dozen celery. Really? Yes, I thought there was just one, but obviously not, right? Clearly not, right? Oh, and I said, I was reading about pink rice yesterday. I'm like, what the hell is that? That is a type of rice, right? Tracy, you're right. The answer is right here in front of all of us. So now connect with Dr. Phil, connect with, Alison, and ask the questions you want to ask, right? They have solutions. They have ways that we can get healthier, get better, live longer, and be happier. So there's no point doing these events and you don't connect with the experts in the field. So everyone should connect with that. Everyone, right? And don't just connect, have conversations. Right? Meet people. I can't say enough. Meet people, talk to them, get to know them, and when you meet them, my friends, maybe I feel the need to say this. Look, it doesn't help anyone to try and sell when you meet people. What you have to do is meet them neutrally. So my strategy is simply, the first time I meet you, I won't even tell you what I do. You know already. That's why we're meeting, I imagine. Otherwise, I won't tell you because I want to know all about you, and I'll let you talk yourself into my service. I wait till the moment you say, I want to do a book, and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about doing books then. Until you mention it, I'm not going to mention what I do. I just let you talk about what your issues are and how you're surviving life and how you're a genius. That's a lesson for everyone, my friend. That's my marketing tip for the day. If anyone gets to listen. Stanley, I see you. I always wondered whether eating healthy fresh fruits and vegetables is actually more harmful than dealing with higher levels of sodium and sugar because of the pesticides. Oh, see, that's a juicy topic, right?
Yeah, for sure. First, that's more harmful than dealing with higher levels of salt and sugar.
Yeah.
That's a loaded question. I mean, it really depends what what kind of fruits and vegetables you're eating. But I think that, things in moderation, but fresh fruits and vegetables are always good because they have fiber. I think when we crush the fruits, not necessarily vegetables, but when we crush fruits, it turns into basically sugar, and it hits the body differently because, the fiber has been taken out of the juice. So we're just doing with, straight juice, which can spike our sugar that much better, or that much higher, I should say. So I think, for people who juice, I mean, I think that there's some good things there, but I think we have to look at, when we tend to juice a lot of fruits, that it tends to have a bigger impact on our blood sugar. So I'm always in favor of, fresh fruits and vegetables, but I think that sometimes we need to watch how much fruit we're eating, like when we eat it during the day, because it's all about trying to keep a very smooth blood sugar. Now, they have these monitors, and actually they're called continuous glucose monitors, and they used to just be for diabetics, but I think that some people should actually do like a 2-week trial if you're able to get them. I know in the US, there are now more ways of getting it. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK or in other parts of the world, but I think that, to slap one on for a couple of weeks and just see what affects your sugar, I think you'd be shocked. You could learn a lot just to see what spikes your sugar. And, because of the little beep that goes off, it connects to your phone, and it'll send you messages, that your sugar is off the chart, either too high or too low. And so I think by utilizing these continuous monitors, I think we can, figure out how foods are affecting our body and how it's affecting our blood sugar. I know my brother has one of these continuous glucose monitors, and he found out that when he eats bagels, his sugar goes off the charts, but he still eats them. Okay, but he accepts the fact that his sugar is going to go high. So it's like, I said to him, I said, well, if your sugar is so high, why would you continue to eat something that spikes your sugar so high? And he says, because I like to eat them. So I think that might be your answer. I think that we need to eat things that we like to eat with. We don't worry so much about levels of salt and sugar too much because of pesticides, although, there are different amounts of pesticides in different types of foods. And then there's ways that we can actually, certain types of foods kind of help the body detox. And that's a whole nother subject, but maybe we can develop a conversation around that sometime. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I see Alison's huge bottle. I never say bigger bottle of water, Alison. I'm astonished. Hey, look, that
right?
one, I tell you, that's water, right? Look,
Water.
Stanley, I want to come. Yeah, you're more like me, Dr. Phil. And I got a bottle that's smaller. Yeah, it's a bottle, right? It does. Well, I got a fridge behind me with about 14 of them, and I will try and drink as many of them as I can in the course of the day. I think I like Tracy's comments, Dr. Phil. Moderation is key, and I say that could be part of the answer, Dr. Stanley. Dr. Stanley, that could be half the answer, right? Moderation is useful, not to do too much of anything. So of course, Tracy says, Amy, good to see you. So I'm glad you joined us. Tracy is clearly glad you joined us too, right? Sherry says, sauerkraut is currently hyped for clearing the gut.
Okay, great question.
The doctor's view on this?
Sauerkraut's great. I mean, it really depends on how it's made, because you see a lot of sauerkraut that has other ingredients in it. But I think pure sauerkraut is actually good. Now, some people can't even tolerate it, sauerkraut. So, one thing I say with fermented foods, I think fermented foods are good for gut health, but I think I always have the motto, go slow. Slow is, go slow and then rise up. So if your body's not used to fermented foods, then I think it's, maybe just try a little bit at a time. Variety is key. And so sauerkraut is a fermented food, just as is kimchi and miso and some of those other types of fermented foods. So I think fermented foods are okay, but it really depends on, what is going on with your body. But as far as sauerkraut itself, I think sauerkraut's fine if you can tolerate it. And just look at what it's, made from. What are the other ingredients? What are your thoughts, Allison?
So I can see Alison thinking. I'm learning when she wants to talk now. So
yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much again. No, you don't really need me here. Do you?
Depends.
All these things, when you're introducing new foods, do it slowly. There's a host of good things for you, and it's a bit like doing the probiotics and everything. You can do if you might be doing your gut a load of good, but for me personally, if you don't know what's in there already, you're kind of shooting blind a bit. But yeah, I mean, if you don't want to test or you can't test or there's money problems, try these things, but just go slow. And I think your golden rule of the fat, fiber, and protein is good, and keep it balanced.
Excellent.
I don't know if you saw my message. I'm going to have to head off because I've got 2 hungry children and a husband to feed, and I need to cook dinner for them. So, but thank you so much for having me. It was very unexpected to be on here, so I really appreciate it, and I hope anything that I've said
is very informative. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So have you DM'd me or Dr. Phil?
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm
no, that's absolutely it's best way, isn't it? I'll reach out to you and connect. So you've got my details. But
please do. So obviously, I want to thank you for joining us. And I don't know whether your real name is Alison the Gut Whisperer, but I'm sure.
It's Alison Dawkes, DAWKES. You can find me on LinkedIn.
DM is much easier, and we'll go from there.
Cool.
Thank
and Alison is in charge of the Health and Wellness Hour, which is from the Trusted Business Community Association, which I'm a part of. And, it's certainly open to anybody. There's meetings throughout, and it's quite a great network of business entrepreneurs. So we invite you to look into it. If anybody's interested, we can certainly talk about it.
Please share the link, Alison. Please share.
I will.
Put the link in the comments afterwards, or share it with me. I'll put it in the comments.
Okay,
but like everyone, connect with people that you met today. Let's build a community of people who support each other, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I see you as well. So thank you, Alison. I don't want you to lose your time today.
I will talk soon, Alison. Thank you.
See you soon.
Take care. My friends, we got about 15 minutes left. So so let's go to Sam, and then hopefully Carl will speak, and then if there are any more questions. Christina, I say welcome. So can Phil talk about the relation about gut and brain? Ooh.
Of course, that's a big topic. So okay. So
let's hear from Sam first, and then you can,
take Sam first. Okay,
you can excite us. That'll still be there. Go, Sam. It's all yours.
But just to touch on that, Dr. Phil knows a lot about that topic because I looked at his website, and he knows a lot about gut and the brain. So just to introduce myself, Dr. Phil, I created a holistic medicine information portal that connects patients with providers. So I really love a lot of the stuff that you're doing, especially when you talked about blood sugar. We actually feature a nutritionist currently who works in that space, and she utilizes nutrition and functional nutrition for diabetes and lowering your blood sugar, especially in women. As one lady mentioned, how the thyroid plays a role in a lot of perimenopausal women. My question for you, though, Dr. Phil, is a personal question. Okay. So 2, actually. So 1, I saw on your website that you have ADHD, and you had ADHD, and as you mentioned, traditional medicine has not done a great job when it comes to ADHD. That's why people have had to look at alternative means, whether that's breath work, marijuana, or whatever. My question for you to that is, how does nutrition play a role in ADHD? And then my second question is, again, a personal. So I have constipation, and I thought that I just need to go no meat and I'll be fine. But then there's obviously issues with lack of protein. So how do I? Like right now, I've been doing chia seeds and putting chia in my water, but how do I maximize my fiber while still keeping a protein balance? Or is the idea of you need to get meat, is that a myth?
Okay, you've raised a couple of great questions. I think animal protein is, I'll answer it briefly, but I think we may need to have a discussion further, and I invite you to, schedule a call so we can talk about these things further. But I think meat is, animal protein is actually good because people who are vegans have trouble because they may need a little bit of animal protein. So I find that if you choose to be vegan, that's great. But I think that people do better when they are, people do better when they do add some animal protein into their diet. As far as your bowel situation with constipation, I think by adding fiber can be helpful. Again, fat, fiber, and protein, but maybe there may be something going on. And maybe when we have a conversation, we can talk about a little bit more about what kinds of things you've done, because there may be some other things going on as to why your bowels aren't moving the way that they're supposed to do. I mean, we're normally supposed to have between 1 and 3 bowel movements a day, and some people don't go for a week, or maybe they'll have different types of things. But again, there are certain types of foods that can affect our bowel function. I think it's good that you are incorporating more fiber into your diet. But again, some people can tolerate it and some people cannot. I think that, so that's that particular question. And I forget the other question that you had was regarding
ADHD.
ADHD. So, I feel that a lot of it, when we talk about the health of our gut, I think that when certain foods, if you may have something where what we call leaky gut, which means that the barriers to digestion may be impaired. And when there is, in other words, there's inflammation that's created, there may be holes in something called, there's a barrier, certain types of cells, and things tend to get through. And then these proteins are recognized as foreign, and they're attacked by the bodies, and they get absorbed into the brain, and therefore it can affect our thinking. So I think that there may be some issues with your gut health with respect to the and so in other words, you may not be absorbing things, it may be leaking, it may be affecting the brain, you may not be sleeping well. So I think in terms of answering your question, yes, there are certain things that we need that are good for the brain. And you can start at the top of your head. You can say, avocados, olives, olive oil, broccoli, spinach, and kale, salmon, turmeric, and those are and blueberries. So these are things that can help with brain health, and there's other types of things that you can do to they call them neurostimulants, or help you focus, and those are things like ginkgo and other types of things like resveratrol. And so it really depends on what you're focusing on, but I'm not advocating that you take a lot of supplements. But I think the bottom line is, when you heal your gut, find out what the gut issue is, I think you'll find that the brain will clear up, and you'll be able to think more clearly, you'll be more productive, you'll have more energy. That's kind of what my program's all about. You kind of look at everything with, the gut-brain connection, like somebody talked about. You want to have, because whatever you put in your gut or whatever affects your gut, whether it be from stress, whether it be from food, your immune system, everything goes back to the brain. And a lot of the signals are coming from the microbes. Some signals are coming from the food. It could be related to stress. And so there's a constant communication between the brain and the gut. And so there are ways to improve that communication. And you mentioned some of them being meditation or breath work, and putting ourselves in a more, what we call a rest and digest, or a parasympathetic state, as opposed to a sympathetic state, which is where we're stressed. and we're basically running around and so I hope that omega-3s, yes, thank you. Omega-3s are good. And so, omega-3s, B vitamins, but omega-3s are key, especially for brain health. Yes, that's very key. But again, we were talking about foods, but omega-3s are great. And I find that a lot of children, instead of going on Ritalin, I find that they do better with, omega-3s, like somebody mentioned, and polyphenols as well. Thanks.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, Annie.
No, feel free.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And then when you talked about fruits earlier, or the guy asked about fruits, because I eat a lot of bananas.
Okay.
Is there a problem with bananas? I mean, is there certain fruits that are better than the others? I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but to your point about sugar, it seems like eating fruit in the morning, would that probably be a better time just because of the spikes in the sugar when it comes to fruits from that perspective, but mainly about bananas.
Bananas are cool. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about bananas, but they tend to be a little higher in the glycemic index. I think that if you eat a banana by itself, it's going to spike your sugar as opposed to combining with something else. And also the degree of ripeness in the banana is going to make a difference, because the more ripe it is, the more it's going to affect your blood sugar. So I don't have any problem against bananas per se. Maybe when we have a conversation, we can talk more about it. It does have fiber. So I encourage you to make an appointment to schedule something, and we could just have a call just to talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's not a sales call by any means. It's just really to see what ways I can help you out, and we can talk about things. Okay.
Definitely. It makes my day. I say the whole point of these events is for people to connect.
Yeah.
And have these conversations. So at least we've got one connection, one conversation with Dr. Phil. So that's my aim has been achieved. Of course, the conversation matters as well. Mr. Calm, talk to us, my friend.
Oh, Dr. Phil,
It's
I
very
have a question for you.
What's that?
Go for it.
That's regarding well, the fruits that you've just been talking about. I typically like taking the fruits with the skin, wash the skin and everything, and just take the whole entire fruit, because I want the fiber.
Talk me louder.
I want the fiber to get into my system,
Right.
whatever it is, and whatever other things are underneath the skin that they probably have more vitamins and so on and so forth. I do that in general with almost all the fruits that I consume. What is the advantage of doing that, and what is not the advantage of doing that? Question number 2 is that we have an acidic body, and we also have an alkaline body.
Right.
That means we have an alkaline gut, and we also have an acidic gut.
Mhm.
How do you get to an acidic gut? How do you get to an alkaline gut? And which one is better in general for us? Number
Well, I
3.
think,
Okay,
okay.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm loading the questions on you. I mean, you can go ahead and answer, and then I'll ask you the third question when you
Well,
do.
I'd like to take them one at a time. The first thing, as far as concerned, I think that the skin is important if you clean it well. It has a lot of the nutrients, as you say. So I certainly believe, certain people who, if you eat a kiwi fruit, like, instead of peeling it, you should try to eat it with the skin. Same thing with the apple. You should try to eat it with the skin, because I think it has a lot. But if you're going to eat the skin, I think, organic is always better for apples. For kiwi, you don't have to worry as much. So you could eat the skin and not worry about, toxins per se. So I think eating the skin is good. Now, as far as oranges and grapefruits, I mean, maybe a little more difficult, but I mean, even the rind of the watermelon with the white part has a lot of citrulline, and that's very, very good for us. Has a lot of different effects on nitric oxide. The other thing is that, just to tackle your second question, which I'm not quite sure what that was all about. I can't remember.
Acidity, the acidity versus the alkaline.
Oh, the alkaline. So yeah, I think that, the most acidic part of our body is in our stomach, because we need acid to break down proteins. And so I think it's very important, and we tend to have less acid as because of the food or because as we get older, we don't make as much acid in the stomach. So we need to do things to produce more acid so we can break things down. But the rest of the body is kind of alkaline because after it leaves the stomach, we're secreting bicarbonate and pancreatic solutions and enzymes, and all those things are alkaline. So the idea is, yes, we want to be more alkaline than acidic. People who are more acidic tend to be, not as healthy. So yes, we want to be more alkaline, and there's different things that we can do to do that. But certainly, digesting our foods, making sure our enzymes are up to par, and making sure that everything is working, including our liver, and we're removing things from the body, emptying, etc., managing our blood sugar, because all these things, particularly blood sugar, can affect our levels of acid and inflammation in the system. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, sure. Taking medication at night versus taking it during the morning.
Okay.
I particularly think that it is much better to take it before you go to bed.
What
Health
medication are we
recovery
talking
reasons.
about? Because medication's different.
Across the board, whichever medication you want to take it at night
you
because
know,
before you go to bed.
Okay, I think it depends on what you're taking. They found that some people who have high blood pressure, if they take their medication at night, because when we're sleeping, your pressure tends to go higher. So therefore, they find that people who take their blood pressure pills at night, that they tend to control their blood pressure better. So it really depends on the medication. And then some things are better taken with food as opposed to without food. Like if you're taking a probiotic, I think it's better to take it with food as opposed to without food. Because when you take it without food, then the stomach basically affects the
Yes, I would
digestion,
assume
and
that
so therefore,
you take it in general with dinner.
yeah, with
Since
food, that's fine. With dinner or with lunch or with breakfast, that's just the way it is. So it really depends. Whether you take something at night or whether you take something in the morning, whatever works for your metabolism and for your overall health. And I don't know exactly what you're taking, but I think just medication in general, it really depends on what it is you're taking, for what reason, and if it's better to take it without food or with food.
I'm basically taking supplements right now.
Okay.
I've stopped taking prescriptions because
Okay. So certain supplements are better taken with food, and certain supplements are taken without food, and it really, so it helps their absorption. So it's important to know which supplements are better, with food and which without. And so that's something that you probably should look at. And we can have a conversation about that if you're interested. So.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, we will. We will. I'll catch up with you and we will have a conversation.
Okay.
And in general,
Mhm.
I know that fasting helps people. What do you call it?
What was that?
Yeah,
Regulate
yes, no,
fasting.
fasting. So I think Superwoman
Yeah.
Margaret says what's worked for her is
Oh,
what's
fasting, right?
most
Yeah.
effective.
And well, so Margaret, you bring a good point up as far as fasting. There's different types of fasting. uh, and so there's ways to break your fast, and it's not for everybody. Some people, for women, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it really depends. That's kind of a good way to look at it. Fasting is good. A lot of people can't go 12 hours without eating something. So I think start with 12 hours at least. From dinner to breakfast, and see if you can last 12 hours. But it's not for everybody, because sometimes when we fast, the body's releasing toxins, and so if you're not used to it, that your body could be releasing things and you could feel lousy. So if you're going to think about fasting, it's something you should look at to start gradually, and slowly increase the amount of time and see if your body can tolerate it. But you may have to build up to it, especially because when we're fasting, our body is feeding off the fats as opposed to sugar, and that's a whole nother subject. But the point is that you need your body needs to rest in order to recuperate. So when we're fasting, particularly at night, the brain has an detoxes, and the and the rest of the body kind of digests like what happened to it all day. So I think that we need breaks during the day, particularly between our meals, and between to allow our body to digest our food. So I agree with you that fasting is important. It's not for everybody. And, for example, when I have people who are having issues with their blood sugar, I tell them to eat every few hours because we want to get that steady curve, where the blood sugar is steady. And then we can certainly, work on other things, but it really depends on what you have and where you want to start. So I hope that answers your question, or at least.
Yeah. I mean, amazing detailed answers to everyone. Sam says, shout out to Dr. Alkaline.
Okay.
It's a real person, right? So people.
Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi.
Okay.
Yes.
So
for sure.
Any, we have to cut this a little short. I mean, I'd love to say all day, but I have another call at 1:00. So
I agree.
Everybody that's been here has been absolutely wonderful. I appreciate Amy being here, and everybody else that's been here. Allison, Amy, you've always been an amazing host. And, so I think that, just one takeaway, just try to work on eating real food and, focusing on just basically taking care of yourself and really taking responsibility for yourself. So eating whole food, trying to ditch the processed foods and the sugar. And I think that'll take you a long way. And trying to get some rhythm in your life. Get the sun first thing in the morning and, just start your day. And that's all I'm going to say. There's just a couple of things that everybody can do, just to help them on the way. But I think food is really important. So I would say work on the food and work on taking care of yourself.
I say thank you. Amy, is there anything you want to say before we go? Because you have been here all the way through, so I'd love to know.
Just thank you. I'm working with Dr. Phil, so I saw him earlier today.
Awesome. And I say, and I think you are on the job hunt as well, right? So tell us quickly what your job hunt is, what you're looking for.
As far I didn't understand your question.
No, not you. I'm talking to Amy. I'm saying Amy can I say I know she's looking for opportunities and roles. So tell us what you're looking for.
Oh, okay. Sometimes it's hard to hear you, Annie.
Yes. Is that me or is that your speakers?
It's you, because I can hear Dr. Phil.
It must be me then. I'll talk louder. I can't shout anymore. Go for it. Go talk to us. Tell us what you're looking for.
So actually right now, I think I'm looking for people to work with to coach in financial literacy. So young adults and new parents. I've been trying to do that for a couple of years. I've done it with some people, but I think that I need to push forward and do that more. So that's just what I'm looking for at the moment, is people who are struggling with their finances and need somebody to walk alongside them and coach them in the day-to-day, not investing or anything, just how to get themselves on track with their daily finances.
Everyone needs to manage their finances better, right? Dr. Phil, we have to go in the comments afterwards and respond to Christina. So actually, I do see your comments, and also to Annie, my sister, Annie, in the audience. And thank you so much. And as Christy says, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. What was that last thing about having diabetes? I missed that point.
Okay, that's Annie's comments. That diabetes since she was a child, she says what she tolerates.
I have excessive thirst in water. This is a nightmare. I drink more than fish, eat less to have that diabetes. Taking the right food, but not always heard of low blood sugar. There's a lot of misconception. I have a dairy intolerance, sugar intolerance, fat intolerance. There's a balance. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on with you. It's something that are you a type 1 or a type 2? I don't know.
Trinaturopathy.
Have the conversation. Annie, connect with Dr. Phil. Everyone connect with Dr. Phil. Connect with Amy. Connect with Sam.
I'll call him.
We can do that. I think that what we can do is we can leave the link for a conversation in the chat,
Yeah.
and you guys can set up something. We can have a conversation. It's a free call, and
Yeah, I'll just call you.
we'll go ahead and talk that. I can either do it with. Thank you, Stanley. I can do it with any. Any can leave the link in the chat, or I can put it in. It's whatever you want to do. You want me to do
Yes.
that, Annie?
Yeah. Well, I was
So,
scan that
Dr. Phil,
QR
I can't
code.
just call you because like I said last meeting, I can't add anybody on LinkedIn because I ran out of connections. But I see your phone number.
Can I connect with you?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so what's your last name?
Salgado. I posted in the chat too.
Okay.
How about I connect you two in the group chat, and you can get started there.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways to get in touch with me. You can call me. My business phone number is 609.
Yeah, on the website, right?
Just 354-5824. You can text me first.
Okay, perfect.
And then we can set up a call if you want to do it that way.
Awesome, my friend.
Yeah, my
So
parents live in Princeton, so you're not too far away.
Okay. Yeah, so we're back here in 2 weeks' time. So another letter of the alphabet topic. I don't know what we're going to be yet.
Right,
I like F and fasting, but I think we've done F already in your book, right?
What about M, menopause? For menopause.
And menopause. Yeah.
Or something to do with women's complaints.
Right. So we'll look through Dr. Phil's alphabet book and see what's missing. That's what we're doing. And then we'll come and talk about it. So we can have content for that section of the book.
Yeah, I think other things that begin with the letter G are things like gout. Gout is something that's actually diet related as well, and has to do with blood sugar management because, when we talk about, blood sugar, we talk about metabolism of uric acid, and uric acid has to do with our blood sugar management and insulin. So it's all linked to the metabolism. So that's another thing that people do, when they're eating too much sugar, or they may be, drinking alcohol, or they may be doing things like artificial type ingredients. They could be affecting the metabolism of uric acid. And, uric acid is actually a biomarker that we probably should be looking at to see what's going on with, with gout. And obviously there are medications we can use to calm down an acute event. But problem is when we take some of these medications, they're toxic to the liver, they're toxic to the kidney. And, so again, it really depends on how much you want to know about, your condition. And there are definitely alternative ways. And that's one of the things I've learned is that there are alternative means to, just stop jumping on medications. And so I think that we should be doing things first from a preventative standpoint and then maybe add medications later. But I mean, some people have to be on it, but, at least not say to themselves that they're going to be on this thing for the rest of their life. So, yeah. I think, so gout begins with the letter G. I'm not sure what other things that you can think
disease?
of. What is it?
Isn't there a link between gum disease and
gum disease? Yes, gum disease is certainly something, right?
I'm with you on. There's gallstones. There's many things.
Right, gallstones.
Gastroenteritis might be part of your gut health topic.
Well, gum disease has to do with gut health as well, because it's kind of like the mouth and the stomach are kind of connected. There's one tube that goes from the mouth all the way down. And so if you're having issues with gum disease, it may be something where it may be the number thing, but there's a microbiome in the mouth. And just like there's a microbiome on the skin, there's one in the vaginal area. There's a microbiome in the lung. So it's not just the gut. There's little pockets or different types of bacteria that are in all parts of the body. And so it's all linked and connected. So yeah, gum disease can be something that can be linked to gut health. And, maybe the way your teeth are or what's going on, the bacteria in your mouth can affect the bacteria in your gut. So if there's something not right in your mouth, then that's going to affect your stomach. And so we need to look at both the health of the gums and the health of the stomach in line. It's all kind of connected.
Yeah, no, Christy, look, tech always plays up, right?
All right. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, indeed.
We'll be in touch.
Halle, you never too
late. Hey, Halle, how are you?
You know what I'm gonna say, Halle, which is you join Team Replay. I'll send you my YouTube link, and you can watch the recording for what you've missed. But thank you all for joining us, my friends. I do need to go, and my next meeting starts.
You'll enjoy it. It's a good
video. You will.
Okay.
That's a feeling. Of course, you're gonna enjoy it. Look, enjoy your evening, my friends.
Yes,
I'll see you tomorrow in my book to business room. So
100%, Christy. 100%. Definitely can.
How to find topics for your book. How do you come up with creative topics? That's what I'm talking about tomorrow. So enjoy, my friends. Thank you, Dr. Phil. So do connect everyone, and Michael, do connect and meet Dr. Phil. All meet now and see how you can help each other if you can. I say bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye, now. Thank you.
Simon, wait a minute, right after the show. Wait, so I've done this a bit, Sam. All right, bye, everyone.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com. And celebrating with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. She's